Okay. Many people know that over the last couple of weeks, maybe longer now, maybe several months, there's been reported stories about conflict within the GOP executive ranks. We've seen and reported in past months plans, and some would call them plots, to remove some members. And very frankly, over the last several weeks, folks have been coming forward from all over Georgia to give us data that more clearly states what's really going on, what they've seen, what they've heard, and so forth. And we're lucky enough to be joined by two gentlemen that fit that model today, Tim Waters and Bill Richardson. Guys, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
So I understand there was both a conversation, Tim, that you overheard while driving. There's a conversation I think that you both were a party to. Rather than me color the conversation, let me do this. Tim, I'm going to turn it over to you to describe the situation and
Sure.
then what you heard and what you witnessed and so forth, if I may. So to you.
Yeah, and so this was, I believe, actually the 18th of December. I was riding up to the state election board meeting. Joe Rossi and I were going to spend the night up in Atlanta, which we did. And on the way up, he got a call from Josh McCoon. I think Joe had recently been talking the complaint 2023-025, which we've been working on passionately for a long time now. Joe and I had discussed this a lot, and Josh called and said that he had saw Joe Rossi on Brian Pritchard's show discussing this 2023-025. And he said he didn't bash the governor when he was discussing this. And that made him feel good and made him feel like he could call him and talk to him about this. And so I heard the conversation, and the conversation was about the two people that we elected at the convention, those at the top, those in the state executive committee, not being happy with two people on the state executive committee that we elected at the state convention. And of course, he was talking about Brian and David.
Were their names mentioned, or he just mentioned two people?
I don't think he specifically said their names.
Okay.
But he made it clear who he was talking about, and that I think the term that he wanted them removed is how he essentially, one way or another, you got a clear indication that's what he was saying.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
There was no doubt about that. And so
this was while you all were driving
to the state board. The next day was the state board. Meeting.
Yep. I remember it well.
Yeah. And I remember that conversation, and I remember when it happened. It was halfway between here and Atlanta, and it was the night before. And it was very clear what happened and what the intent was. And he was trying to have a rapport with Joe and let him know that he was happy that he didn't bash the governor, and say there were some problems with those two gentlemen, and they were going to try to do something about it.
Yeah. He was happy that Joe had not bashed the governor. Did he expand on the relationship that he has with Governor Kemp, or not in that conversation?
He didn't. He didn't. And it was short. I would say that the call was all of 5-6 minutes.
Yeah.
So it really wasn't much other than that, but it certainly made me aware. You get the feeling that there's no relationship between, let's say, Raffensperger, Kemp, the Attorney General, Chris Carr, Josh McCoon. They're all doing their own thing. And of course, I don't buy that for a minute. Now, that's just my opinion, but it is what it is.
Yes, sir. As I understand it, there was another conversation that I guess both of you had, and perhaps with others, with Chan Jones, was it?
Yes,
that's correct.
Okay. Maybe we can pivot and discuss that a bit as well.
Yeah. So Bill and I went to the Houston County GOP meeting on January 6th. Chan was the speaker there that day. Mm-hmm. And he said a few things, and I'll let Bill tell you about some of the things he said before, but the concentration I think we want here is on what was said after. And that is, Bill and I talked to Chan for probably an hour after that meeting. And Chan's an affable guy. He likes to talk, and we just had some good conversations with him. But the one thing that he said that was very clear is that Brian, and this was, so let's get our bearings straight here. So that first conversation with that I'm speaking of with McComb was on December 18th. This one was on January 6th.
Okay.
And he told us under no uncertain terms that Brian and David would be gone from the state executive committee by the time the state convention rolled around. He
Wow.
said that.
And he was referring to Brian K. Pritchard and David Cross.
Yes,
sir.
Yes, absolutely.
Interesting. Did he say why they needed to be gone as of a given date?
No, but Bill, you can jump in too. So it's pretty obvious here that they're not liked, and they were the protagonist in this situation from the last year's state convention moving forward, because they want to see the truth come out. Brian says it all the time. David says it all the time. And and to a lot of us, it's obvious, right? We want to see these ridiculous court cases go away, that if they adjudicated 2023-025 properly and it went before the right people, then absolutely those things would disappear. The truth would come out. That's all we care about. Bill, jump in where you want to.
Yeah, please.
Shannon also mentioned that they serve us, but we serve them too, referring to Kemp and all the others. And he's definitely he's for machines. He said if you give him paper ballots, he will win every election. And of course, we had the debacle at the fish fry of how all that went. He put a bad name out there for the 8th district for what he calls saying it was a private event, when actually everybody doesn't believe it was private. But when Kemp came, that's when everything changed, and people were starting to be told they couldn't wear the paper please shirts, had to take them off, they were going to be arrested, and all these type things. But also, he had said that he would not vote for Trump. He was not a Trumper. He was for DeSantis. But in the end, if Trump did end up on the ballot, that's where he would go. But he wasn't for him. He also mentioned that Marty would be the next governor of Georgia.
Oh, interesting.
There was no doubt about it. She would be the next governor of Georgia.
We both looked at each other and was surprised that he said that, but yeah.
There's been a few of those. I remember when one of the gentlemen was questioning Kemp on the floor during the infamous fish fry, and Kemp said, "You can hack all the machines." And I remember him looking into the gentleman looking in the camera going, "Oh, wow, that's pretty interesting."
And Mr. Jones said that no one will be able to touch her because there will be so much money moved over into her campaign, which I assume is our taxpayer money that they have in the war chest of anywhere from $60 to $80 million, I hear at times. And not $1 is being given to the Republican Party of the state of Georgia. And he just pretty much said she will be the governor of Georgia.
Interesting.
Sir?
You guys had one heck of a conversation. You were starting to add something, I think.
He talked about some place, I can't remember the name, in Atlanta where all the lobbyists go and all the legislators go there, and they have, I think they call them honeypots. These are girls that work in these places, and they wind up getting these legislators in precarious situations and can blackmail them, if you know what I'm saying.
This was actually said to you by...
Yes, sir. And there was another person with us. It wasn't just Tim and I. There was a third person, but
Really?
he chose not to be a part of this right now. But they would definitely verify everything. That they go to this. I can't remember the club. I wish I could, but anyway, it's just someplace where all the lobbyists hang out. And I know the Eagles Club comes up as one of those places, but I'm not sure that's the place he was talking about.
I understand. I'm rarely speechless, but this time I am. This is amazing information that you brought forward, although, albeit it lines up with things we've heard from other places,
Sure.
but to have it this close right here in Georgia is astounding.
Right.
Very
Well,
concerning, of course.
And after Hank started writing his articles, we felt an obligation to let him know what we knew. It's just more of the truth coming out. And that's what we're all about. We don't care about anything else but the truth, Bill.
Right.
We're trying to get it out there as much as anybody.
This has
have been.
none of this has any bearing on anything you guys are directly involved
No.
in, right? This is
No.
just
No,
this is
absolutely not.
people. You're two gentlemen coming forward with information, as I
Yes, that's
understand
right.
it, regardless of other stuff that you're involved.
And also during this conversation, and it went on for an hour and a half outside of the building, which everybody tells us is rare that Chan would talk to us that long, but it did go that long. The St. Simon's convention was coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when the David Cross stuff started coming out. And everybody's, this nobody knows. This is conspiracy. As our friend Steve Bannon says, there's no conspiracies and there's no coincidences.
That's right. Well,
And this, of course, they played that one off. And now we're in this situation now. We're getting ready for the state convention, and all this is starting to come again. May 9th, May 10th, we got Susan O, and then we got BKP on the 10th. So there's definitely was something in play many months ago leading up to this.
Yes. Yeah, I think, as you say correctly, Hank Sullivan has written about that. There's also been, from the Georgia Record, we published a couple articles as well, because there's too much that's happened in sequence, apparently, that to make it coincidence. This didn't arise just in the last month. This has been something bigger.
All of it has coming all the way down from the top. We know that. This is not coincidences that are occurring here.
Might not want to talk about it, but just what happened to you guys the other day, to me, I feel like you're all targeted now because y'all are telling the truth and the fire you had. And there's just too many anomalies there that line up with what they do to the people that start telling the truth,
Truth is a funny thing, isn't it? You start having it come out and there's really no going back, because
That's
it
right.
just stands on its own. The lies kind of fall by the wayside once they're exposed, but the truth will stand on its own.
I mean, like my granddaddy said, if you lie, you got to tell another lie to cover that lie. But if you tell the truth, you can't. The truth doesn't change. It's the same. And we're not here to, like you said, we're not here to try to get somewhere or be something. We just want everybody to know what we know.
Well, gentlemen, thank you for coming forward. Thank you for being, I'll call it, courageous enough, because many people have been concerned about saying what they know. I've been lucky enough to have, as I said, a number of folks come forward, but many are still concerned for themselves and so forth. Thank you.
And we're both veterans. We took an oath, swear to the Constitution, and we believe in the Constitution. We're constitutionalists, and we will hold that oath to the day we die to fight against foreign and domestic enemies. And right now we have domestic enemies all around us.
It sure sounds like it. One, thank you for your service. And two, thank you for your honesty and courageous choice to come forward. If you find more, our door is always open.
All right.
Thank you, Bill.
All right. Thank you both.
Yes, sir.
We'll bring this out quickly.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.